They said the truth won't survive beside the lies that maintain the decaying faces of display.
Hey everybody, this is Hold the Truth Hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. Now, I want to give a shout out to Anthony Williams, who requests me to look up this the series that's coming out on Netflix called Cuties. I just want to say something, you know. I was watching other people's videos and, their reaction to it. And as usual, it's like I say, a lot of people look at it from the surface level. They don't look at what Cuties means. This whole film is really a landmark accomplishment. This has been planned for, what is it now, over 40 years. They've been trying to make, the pedophilia a choice as a sexuality. They've been trying to promote it as a positive. They've been trying to promote it as something that every man does and fantasizes about. They've been doing it since, over 40 years. For example, you had the movie Taxi Cab, where they had a 12-year-old hooker. When in reality, children at that age would be taken or put into, foster care or something to be handled. Then you had the movie, which I watched, was The Professional, where they had his love interest or would-be love interest, a little girl that's around 11 or 12. Instead of her looking up to him as, a father figure or that cool uncle or that cool, secret detective or that cool assassin or something, they always try to force the notion that whenever a man is alone with a girl or something, that he's gonna have there's gonna have to be some form of pedophilia. Versus, for example, if you watch The Professional, he's an assassin or a mercenary, and this little girl happens to get in his life. Rather than, okay, she's with him, she looks up to him, she respects him, she's looking at him as like a father figure and stuff like that. Nope, they imply some romance. Then you have the movie Interview with a Vampire, back in the 90s, where you had a vampire. I think they turned a little girl that was 12 years old into a vampire at that age, so she could forever be an attractive goal for a pedophile. You know what I mean? They've been building up on this for a while. Another example is To Catch a Predator. That show, where they turned something such as pedophilia into a show, into something that should be laughed at, something that shouldn't be, something with pedophilia. That type of case should be taken seriously. That shouldn't be a running gag in a running show. They had that, so you think you could catch a predator. The whole, back then it was a huge show, had a lot of ratings, a lot of TV networks promoting it. Instead of saying, they're saying something that should be on TV, they're saying something that should be promoted or made mainstream or normalized. They allowed it, so they promoted that through pedophilia. What a lot of people need to understand is, and that show Cuties Netflix is releasing, is to further. Now, before I get to it, remember how they had a beauty pageant show where they have live on television where they showcase, little daughters being made up into makeup, and, and they were showcasing it live on regular television and so on. That's something you think they would have put on a children's network for, little kids and little kids. And then you look at the whole beauty pageant thing where they put makeup, they over-sexualize those little girls. That's what they try to do. The whole thing is this, man. It's all about destruction at the end of the day. and I always touch up on this, but once the government destroyed the family values with, with how they started off welfare by offering mothers money if the father wasn't around, you know, then child support, then they eventually got to in the 19, I think it was 1969, no fault divorce. The whole goal, it's a combination between Hollywood and, of course, the government. You know what I mean? The government wants to destroy that family fabric. They want to destroy the notion that a man can be a leader to his children, his household. They want to even destroy the image of manhood, that, a man trying to help a lost child might be a pedophile. And they created all this chaos because the government at the end of the day and Hollywood, you know, thrive off of chaos. When people live in such a chaotic aspect of reality, you can better sell to them, you know, you can better sell to them fiction. You could better sell to them lies because they're living in a state of chaos, and the closest thing they could get to normal is sitting down and watching a film or a TV show and so on, So that Cuties, now to get to it, why Netflix is promoting it and they're backpedaling and all that stuff. And notice how Netflix did it. Notice who's the director. Netflix is using the same ploy that the government did in the 50s with the black family. The government always used, they when they started welfare, they asked the black woman, we'll give you some money if you kick the father out. Now notice what Netflix is doing. Notice the director, it's a black woman. You know what I'm saying? They're saying this is empowerment and all that. And notice that they're having a black woman. They're using the same playbook the Democrats did when they destroyed the black family with welfare and all that, child support. Because you have and sad to say, if you go online, the thing about Cuties is if you go on Instagram and stuff like that, you have mothers having their daughters at age 12 dancing to twerking music and all that. That's the thing about Cuties. That whole film they're putting out on Netflix is that it's not the worst. It's in reality you have far worse. You could go on Instagram right now and see somebody's little daughter who's 4 or 5 years old dancing to some garbage. You know what I'm saying? Or being over sexualized at a super young age. It's just what the Netflix film Cuties is really a victory lap. That's what it is. It's a victory lap because what's more mainstream than Netflix right now? So if we could get Cuties out on Netflix, which has over 100 million subscribers to watch it, will further push that narrative of making pedophilia, just like being, just like being any other sexuality, bisexual, gay, lesbian, straight. We could now transition to turning pedophilia into a sexual identification, and because you could notice that the film's ratings, it's not a film made for, like to showcase the dark side of that. It's just openly proud with bright colors. It's rated. It's at a rating where children can watch it. And like I said, the government always uses, because they see black people as dysfunctional anyway, and with what they've created with welfare and destroyed the black family that once was the most married when it came to percentage. You see, even back in the 1900s and so on, the black family was more married than the majority, which it makes, overall they had more married couples. They were stronger family structure. I mean, after slavery, what are you gonna have besides your family? So there were more married blacks than there were Caucasians when it came to the overall percentage. That doesn't mean there were more black people married than white people back then. It just means the black population has a higher marriage rate than the white population at the time. So they destroyed that, and look who they have advertising Cuties. Look who they have as the director. They funded a black female who has a perm, straightens her hair, who already self-destroys and has no real confidence. One thing I give the Democrats, and they've won the Democrats and the feminist movement when it came to the division between the black man and the black woman, is that they literally made it that it's negative for you to be proud to have and identify as a black woman with your natural. As you can see with my hair right here, it's nappy, it's natural, it's what I am. You know what I mean? So look who they have directing the film. It's a lady who has no sense. You know what I mean? And that's the majority of the black community right now. If you can see, there's a guy named Tommy Sotomayor who created this quote, the hair hat. What, black women wearing a lot of weave and, self-identifying and pursuing to be the white woman's replacement or something close enough so they can get. Now, a lot of guys in the manosphere want to talk about hypergamy. Well, that level of hypergamy where you abandon your own genetic traits to get closer to what's seen as the highest, most valuable man. You know what I mean? So now, what does Cuties imply? I said this on a comment once, but I'm going to tell you this. This basically means, and this is like the final, it's the victory lap, because I think France just made, I think they made the age of consent 15 in France now. And in a couple years back, there was an article about them trying to normalize pedophilia. They always push it out there some way and somehow. And this is a victory lap. This further means now think about it. They've already, made it illegal for you to be a father, illegal for you to have any say-so or authority in your household above the government. To be a father now is to basically be someone who volunteered to be a prisoner of the state. That's what it means. Because at any time, and remember, the majority of men don't have the money to hire lawyers and so on to battle it. But at any time now, if you're a father, it could be said, oh, he's abusing our children. Done. And they got Facebook and all that. She could put it on Facebook. He's abusing our children. What you have to understand what Cuties means is that Cuties means that your daughter, like I posted on a comment, that you only have, in my honest opinion, you have a 1 in 99 chance of raising your daughter properly, because all it takes is, boom, she sees a video. You know what I'm saying? That encourages her. This is what it means to be a beautiful little girl, putting makeup on at the age of 5 and so on. That used to be something they guarded. But I said this way back in my freshman days of college, that makeup and all that, they want to get the little daughters as soon as possible. They want to train them as soon as possible to wear makeup. Because what is makeup really? Makeup is really the volunteering of destroying your image, and volunteering for women when they wear an excessive amount of makeup, when they can't live a day without wearing makeup. It's really them volunteering to spit on and volunteer to be against their own natural features. Makeup makes sense at a Halloween party or a themed event. It makes sense. But every day, makeup is really all about, and the sooner they can get a little girl to do it, it's about turning your own body into a rental. What I mean by a rental is that Every time a woman puts on makeup, let's say she's spending 30 to about 100 and let's say 30 to $200 on makeup a month. That's basically her turning her face into like a rental. You know what I mean? For her to be proud of how she looks, she has to spend 100 and, 50 to $200 on makeup every month, sometimes every week. You know what I mean? To fuel that depression and that self-hatred. And that's why I say with your daughters now, guys, if you have a daughter, the truth is you have a 1 in 99 chance of raising your daughter right, because all it takes is for her to hear the wrong song. All it takes is for her to associate with one of her girlfriends that's a little more out there. And now remember the single mother rate. And remember that feminism is truly about promoting women to become fast food, to become debt, to become a revolving door of self-destruction. You know what I mean? The reason feminism hates the woman at home and is that the woman at home that's with her family has a sense of stability and a sense of value. I'm gonna take care of my family. I trust these people. I want to be honest. No, feminism thrives when a woman abandons any aspect of virtue. And, it's easier to control her. It's easier to get her to become a debt slave. It's easier to get her to sleep around, become a single mother, become, further property of the state and dependent on a state to the point where, all the votes are guaranteed. All you got to say is, we're going to remove the student loan debts. You're a powerful woman. This and that. It's all about giving women the opportunity to destroy themselves. That's what feminism is all about, turning women to fast food. You could sleep with as many men as you want, aka, now if I'm the pharmaceutical industry, how does this benefit me? That means there's going to be a higher rate of STDs. That means we can sell more STD products, all that, what I mean? There's a higher rate of incarceration if I'm a private prison because, a woman's just randomly getting pregnant by some random dudes. That means there's a higher chance she'll put that man on child support. He can no longer argue. And if I'm the government, having her in a state of chaos means she can rely on the government more because the government is not about stability. And what I mean it's not about stability is that every few months or so you have to vote in a new government official, which means it ain't, and then how it's done, it's not about stability, smear campaigns and so on. It's not about who's the best and most qualified. And then the greatest aspect of feminism is that it tells women to promote self-destruction of other women. You know what I'm saying? She should be proud as a single mother. So, and also it promotes that she should not have any shame because, hey, you could be one too. Promote single motherhood so you could, when you become one, no one could guilt or shame you or say it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? So a lot about feminism is really having women self-destruct and make their whole life about self-destruction, then further destroying other women. You know what I'm saying? Now, to get back to it, you raising your daughter right now, you have, in my honest opinion, you have a 1 in 99, 1% in a 1 out of 99 chance of properly raising your daughter. The amount of imagery, the amount of suggestions for her to become self-destructive. And then you got to understand legally, if you had a child right here in this country, legally you don't have true power over her as a father, because if you say, well, I don't want you to go out, as long as you live in my household, you will not date, you will not do anything unless you present that boy to me, none of this will happen. Well, she could easily say, well, my father is abusing me. My father isn't allowing me to be a teenager, or she could say, you're abusive, and then the mother backs up the daughter, and bam, you're known as an abusive father. You know what I'm saying? Even if you volunteered to take your daughter overseas, to try to implement some aspect of normalcy and tradition, it won't really work, because once she comes back here, at the end of the day, you don't have any true power over your daughter's life as a father. In all honesty, Cuties just further confirms the war against normalcy and virtue within your daughters. And it's really a victory lap. Netflix is mainstream. A lot of guys are angry. Oh, how could Netflix do this? How could they put it out? You have to understand, if it's not about what they put out, it's about how come they're so comfortable to put that out. Well, it's really, there's a war on. You saw the whole thing with Dwayne Wade's son, where they're promoting that your son should be allowed to, think about it, your son isn't allowed to drink at age 10, but he should be allowed to have a sex change at age 10. Your child doesn't know anything, but it's not about your child knowing anything. It's about you as an adult. We're promoting that you have the right to not take responsibility for your children. And that's what it is. Now, like I said, there's a one, and in fact, let me put it down. There's a 1 in 10 chance you as a man right now can properly raise your daughter. There's advertisement against her virtue. There's shows against her virtue. There's so much going up against her being virtuous. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're willing to, I'd say this might sound extreme, but the best case scenario for some aspect of tradition is you might have to every summer leave your daughter, bring her overseas or something to a country where there's more traditional values, where she learns to, be able to take care of herself, not by trying to look sexual or stuff like that, but being able to cook clean, take care of her hygiene, and have more pride and more control over herself. That might be your best choice. But even then, this is spreading all over the world now. So there's I'd say you have a 1 in 10 chance to properly raise your daughter. Now, when it comes to your sons, I'd say you probably have a 3 in 10 chance, probably a 4. Probably, I'd say you probably have a 50-50. Your best bet with your son, and you could save your son, because if you can instill a state of tradition, a state of him being a man, and a state of him looking at, if I can't have any authority over my family, in the direction of my family, it's not worth having a family. Your best bet, and especially now with how they're implementing these things where they're all about destroying your child's virtue and confidence and normalcy. You got cartoons telling your kid it's wrong for them to be straight. You got cartoons telling your kid it's wrong to not try things that, aren't natural. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand that there literally is, and I'd say this, they don't have, notice in films they have an age rating, but notice what they don't have, and I'm gonna be implementing this in my own company with what I'm doing, but they don't implement sexuality featured in the films. Notice that they don't implement any warnings of sexuality featured, straight, bi, gay, whatever. They don't implement any of these ratings. Then they don't implement any warnings of the political values that will be displayed, whether it's a leftist film, whether it's a right-wing film. They don't put any of these. They just want you to jump in to the film because they want to catch you off guard, just like they're doing with your children. They've changed the sexuality of certain characters in cartoons. The truth is this: if you're raising your children now, everything they watch, you have to have watched it. I mean, I think right now your best bet when it comes to having your kids watch cartoons or anything, it has to be cartoons from probably your era. Stuff from the 90s or something like that. At least you watched it. You know what to expect in it. Now they're just trying to sneak things in. The reason I say you have a better chance with your son, you could send him to a boot camp overseas, you know, every summer, or you could travel with him overseas and show him in a country where manhood is allowed. You could show him that, son, you have to be able to do this, and you have to be, before you're able to be, married and provide money and all that, you, son, have to be able to have authority. If you cannot have authority, son, you're volunteering to be a slave. You know what I'm saying? Slave to the state and so on. So you could save your son, even with all the marketing going on. You could save your son because instinctively your son wants to be, head towards a straight path because, he doesn't want to be dominated over and so on. Your best bet, like I said, to any father that can't afford it, if you can't afford to take your son overseas, you could take him to a state, you could take him to another state where you could teach him farming and so on. The reason I'm not bringing up boot camps here is that notice what they did to the Boy Scouts. The girls had their own scout troops, but no, they now put the girls in the Boy Scouts because the government and a lot of these feminist groups wants to promote that. It's not right for a man to exist without a woman by his side at all. They're trying to train the young boys at an early age. You have to have a woman by your side or a female as soon as possible. You know what I mean? That's why they killed off the Boy Scouts. Yes, there were some other reasons, you know what I'm saying? There were some, what they call it, there was some, some negative aspects of pedophilia in there. Some adults were doing things. But, that could have been fixed if the fathers had any power in this country anyway. But your best bet when it comes to your son, you better take him, if you can, to a more farm-worthy state where they teach him how to work with his hand. You can instill some level of, authority and understanding of him. But if you can, take your son overseas. Take him overseas, send him a boot camp over there. Send them to a country where they're not trying to sell to children. They're not playing sexual politics with children. You know what I mean? Send them there and tell them this is how it's supposed to be. If it's not like this, that's a warning. That's a danger to your livelihood, son. If you don't have any control as a man or any authority, that's a sign of danger. So don't play with it. And that's what you're supposed to teach your son, But, the Cuties, like I said, the Cuties is really, it's a victory lap. It's a victory lap for the, those trying to now normalize, pedophilia as a sexual identity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they normalized a lot of other things, so why not normalize this? As for you guys with daughters and so on, you as a man, this is further to demonize a man. Because, hey, if a man's alone with his niece, he might be a pedo. Everything they do is to engrave that a man in society is a threat. You know what I mean? That the governing body should be the only thing trusted, but they don't showcase the teachers. You know what I mean? A lot of guys used to want to sleep with their teachers. I'd say I'd be one of them. When you were in high school, man, you had a hot teacher. You were like, oh man, I could do that. But what they don't showcase, a lot of those female teachers that sleep with the kids that might have had an STD that passed it on to that kid. They don't bring that up, but they want to showcase that the men are all potential, pedophiles. You gotta understand, man. You know, we're at the time where all it's about is destroying your image. You know, you were born a male, you were born a threat. But there is a way to change things, and that's to keep going your own way and to look overseas and something else. But this has been Hold the Truth Hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. Peace.
They said the truth won't survive beside the lies that maintain the decaying faces of